we are used to go towards something, achieve something. But the thing is, this liberation of mind is not that easy, because it doesn't come, you have to have a passion for that. But the thing is, you can't actually go towards that or try to achieve it, because when you try to achieve something, you are already in the mind. So when you have like in subconscious level, if you have like a thing, I'm going to achieve this, drop it. I think best thing is to drop that. Because if you have something in your mind, as even some in subconscious level, it's not going to work, because it's not going to be practical. But knowing Dhamma is very important, because once you understand how the mind arises, how a chitta arises, what everything is about, the world collapses. The world we used to enjoy, the we used to hate or enjoy, collapses. The meaningless, the world becomes meaningless. So in that sense, you start letting go, and the final bit is letting go of the mind, and that actually comes with the knowledge you have that it's actually useless. The mind, the if you give importance to the mind, it becomes really prominent, and then you are in the mind. You don't know that, but you are in the mind. But if you really know how to let go, I mean, let go word is used by a lot of people around the world in like in English speaking world. Let go word is used in different meanings. But this one is really letting go of your own mind, is really interesting. And I think practical aspect that our Anvanse is teaching us. I mean, it's kind of a practice where it's really important that you see your senses, because you are born with 5 senses. Actually, the 6th sense is combination of 5 senses. So you're born with that. And we are actually trying to use this 6th sense, the mind, to get rid of the mind. In the sense, actually go, like, win the mind, so that mind doesn't play tricks with you at all, forever. So to do that, you have to understand that the mind, one thing, you have to know and feel the mind, and you have to know how mind can trick you. The more you know Dhamma, more you become the you mastered letting go, basically. But you can't actually do that. You let go just naturally when you know how this mind arises, how these 5 senses work, how the 6th sense is actually created from the 5 senses, and how 6th sense can trick you. The more you learn about it, the more you get wary of it, the more you give up, the more you try to you live with it. Doesn't matter, you have a mind, you live with it, but you actually let go of the mind. We need practice for that in the initial bit, because to see even the senses, you need to have a very deep understanding how these perceptions occur. So the perception is really you The ability to perceive is the main thing a chitta has. Chitta means, what's the English word for chitta? Or it doesn't come to me.
Thought.
Yeah, a thought. Yeah, maybe, but it's not the exact thing. I don't know. But
Stimulus. Is that what you mean?
yeah, yeah. One stimulus or one like chair in the sense. Yeah, one thought
Reflection.
we can say. Yeah, one thought we can say one thought as an initial thing, and when we go on talking, we might come up to something. But when you try to understand, a thought can, or actual stimulus, in that case, the chair, you can actually, when you try to understand Dhamma, you can actually understand the how the chair became important to us. It happened very slowly. In Sinhala discussion one day, I took the example of million. It can be rupees, it can be dollars, it can be anything, any money, but a million. I took that example because it's close to us, a bit better than the chair. Because chair, some might think, oh, I don't care about the chair, but one can care about a million. Would you? Would you give a value to million? Okay, I have a million of this thing. Okay, that sounds good. It's having a value. So when you have a value, what does that mean? Would a sound, a million, give a value to a child? Not really, unless it's million of dolls or million of cars, maybe like toy cars. I have million of toy cars. Then that would give sometimes an idea to a little child. But to an adult, million of toy cars wouldn't matter. But it would matter if it's in dollars or if it's in rupees. So a million, the word million, how did that come to us with a value? It happened slowly. It happened over the time. It's happening subconsciously. How did the value happen? So you go beyond that. How did a million gets like a image? It's a perception. But how did that get that image? Million. How did that get an image? It has an image though. If you have something, if you're perceiving something, you have a value. But in the meantime, when we try to understand what Renwan says, it's repeatedly telling us, okay, do we have a value in million? It's a sound that I heard. How did it become so valuable? But unfortunately, it has a value. But then more we understand about it, the sound incorporated with everything else, the value given by the society, we incorporate that. We keep we have stories like the stories about the chair. You have story about the million. The more you become older, more you become obsessed with this million. It's same thing which happens with um, the self. How did that happen? What is the what is the problem with the million and the self? Well, if you have a million, even if it's a sound, if there's a value to that in someone's mind, okay, that system already has generated a perception of self. That's how it is. If you give a value, you get a perception of self. But this can happen in several ways. So don't get me wrong. Even the sound. So imagine someone who has, like a child, like a very small child. You hear the sound million. It doesn't really matter him. It doesn't really bother him. He doesn't know anything about a million. He is not even shaken by that. He doesn't have a thought about it. He doesn't care. Even if he's given $1 million, he wouldn't care because he doesn't know. But then it's a sound. So sound itself can give rise to the perception that it's there. The sound is there, but the actual million value is not there, but the sound is there. So sound gives you the feeling that there is a sound and you give value to that sound. But once you become older, it becomes more into a chitta, like the actual value. Like million becomes actually like full of a story. You can tell that actually in your mind, if your bank account had 1 million and it's suddenly scammed and the money is gone, how much would you feel it? Would you feel it or would you not feel it? Or would you rather cry or would your heart starts to beat like hell? Yeah, already you have lost million. But what can we say? What can we say? What have we lost? We have lost something. Yes, that's in your mind. The value given to the million has worked. It has given a feeling that you had million and then now you have lost it. So then this gives you an understanding how value can come to anything. A sound has a value. 1 million is a sound. I'm telling you now, it's a sound. So I'm talking, so you get a sound. But if it's having a value, it has a value. It's you can't prevent it because if it's having a value, it will be felt by you. It will be perceived with that, and you will feel it. But the real story comes when you lose 1 million or you get 1 million. Actually, you win a lotto and you get million, and then you lose, you are scammed, and your million is gone. Then you will realize, oh my God, then that's what's happening to me. Yes, what's happening to me? Why am I losing this? Or why am I getting this, the happiness or the sadness? How did that happen? So the value has worked. Value has a meaning. Value has given you sadness or happiness. But this is beyond what a normal feeling is. This now you're burning. Now you are in trouble. Now who is in trouble? You are, because million had an impact on you. The sound had an impact on you, but it wasn't sound. It was a actual combination of all the senses that the million became so important that you are in trouble. So what does that mean in normal life? Well, you're suffering because you have arisen there. The moment the million arises, you have arisen. So this happens, the self arises. Something happens, the self arises. I think you can understand that. And then what happens when someone actually listen to this Dhamma? They understand, okay, the child didn't have any sadness or burning when he got $1 million to his hand. He will be playing with that. He will be throwing them in air and feeling how the paper would run like a leaf of feather, because he doesn't know that it's really valuable, because value hasn't come to his mind. But then he will like it as a feather maybe. So that feeling, still there is a feeling, even though that child doesn't know about the million. The feeling of the paper might give a pleasure to that mind. A feeling of the lightness of that paper might give pleasure to that mind. Or the beauty of the paper, because it has some pictures in that might give pleasure to the child. Does that matter? Yes, it does matter. Even it's in that level, the mind, even though mind is not that fully developed, still there is a self arise there, because there is a thing. If it's if even if it's not that bad as an adult. Um so this changes do occur until we hear Dhamma. And when we hear Dhamma, we understand how million arise in a child's mind and then in our mind. How we are tricked into things. How the mind play tricks on us. The more we understand that, how the uh, sound has incorporated into values, how it became, how it has like a picture, um, how it has the feeling that it can give you. So more you understand, the more you feel it's something happening even without our knowledge. It's happening, and it has put us into a great dilemma, great trouble. This doesn't stop there, because the more you become stronger, because the more you think the million is important, more you become strong, because they are both similar. So suffering is the same. Whether you like it, you got the million, that doesn't really matter, because if you are there, if self has arisen, if the perceiving of self has arisen, the sadness is there, the suffering is there. Actually, I'm not talking about the sadness that we feel like crying. No, I'm not really in that way, but suffering in having a self. But how did this self arise? Because we have something which we have a value. It can be in the face value as well, even though when we understand Dhamma, the value slowly goes away. We actually let go. We don't really think and let go. We just let go. Basically, we understand how these senses are working. Because if we don't have a sense, like imagine we don't have the ability to hear from birth, we will never know about hearing, will we? Then we don't have an idea even like that. The all the senses are there already. Now we just have the senses. But the senses are not the problem. Problem is the feeling that it gives us that everything is real. Even though, even the sound, it's giving a feeling of like the perceiving something real happens. Even if the million doesn't matter to the child, still it can give rise to something that is happening in that sense. So if you perceive in it that way, which is our usual way of perceiving, we perceive the million, the sound, we perceive the sound, even though it doesn't give a meaning to the child, still we perceive a sound. But with time, with this value, the self becomes really prominent. And when you are like older, sometimes we might say, now it doesn't matter to me. I'm really old now. I don't care about the million anymore. Well, that's not really true. That's not really true. It's just in the mind you say, it doesn't matter to me now. because you can't really do anything because you're on the bed now. You can't really do anything with the million. You can't go around the world. You can't go do anything. So, but still, that's in your mind. You have all these um, perceptions. Is the word sanya the perceptions? Um,
We can use Hitler's perceptions. Randima, you can correct me.
is it the perception?
I think we can use perception. Yeah, Dr.
Is
Gopi.
the Vedana the perception or the
It's a signal, kind of, no?
Vedana is sensation, Sanya is perception, doctor.
yeah? So I'm correct, yeah. So
Yes,
yeah, the perception. So there can be so many perceptions. So the perception can be still there, even though you in your mind you would say, million doesn't matter to me now. I'm very old. I'm on the bed now. I'm dying. Million doesn't matter to me. Give it to my son. But still, the perception is not gone. The vibration of self that came from that value has not subsided. Until you know true Dhamma, you will never ever understand how a perception can persist in the system, even though in your mind you would say, oh, I don't mind. Give it to someone. I don't care. I can't do anything. But still, the perceiving part of it still perceive with a value. So you still persist. Still, the voltage, if you say as in examples, Mararan once say 33,000, but still it will be the same. Even though in the mind it might say, oh, I don't mind. I don't care now. Doesn't matter. I'm okay with letting go now. Well, actually, that's a lie because it's not the letting go. It's the letting go because you can't do anything. That's not actual letting go because you haven't actually understood how a million works. If you really know it's just a perception, everything becomes very easy to let go. And you may even actually have a million working for you. Maybe you have a company where a million people work for you. I have a million under me. Still, doesn't matter if you know how this story can bring about all the perceptions and how that perception can arise the self-perception. Self-perception is tricky. In Nirvana, we actually try to understand how this self-perception started. That's the main thing. And in that, we learn everything because that doesn't start without the stimulus. The value of the stimulus is the self-perception. We can't separate them. We really can't. And the more you understand Dhamma, more you become aware about this, you become wary about your mind because mind is where all the perceptions are. And perceptions become very, they don't give you any value. When there's no value to your perceptions, the word me or my the value doesn't come to you. Even if there's a million people working under you, that doesn't really bother you. That doesn't really give a kick to your self-perceiving because you know that how it arises. So I think it's a long story, but it's still very nice story. We are learning it every day, and the more you learn about it, more fascinating it becomes. because it's talking about your own mind. And also you become free of your own mind. And I know it's a bit of a thing to learn, but it doesn't really matter, because we are not stopping anything. We are just listening to Dhamma discussions. We talk about this, we discuss, we talk, we actually listen. And in the other thing is we go deep into this. We see how the million shook me, how chair arises, how the sun arises, how the moon arises. And then when you realize that it's just a natural phenomena which happened in the way of chitta, how the thought process occur in humans. It may not be similar to others, but in humans, it's five senses, and the five senses, because of the great speed that these things happen, they seem to be occurring at the same time. And then the mind arises. The mind is the main reason that we achieve nirvana. Mind is the same reason that we actually go into these, all the realms, and suffering continue. So mind is the same thing, same reason for both ends. Because to understand what nirvana is, or liberation of mind, you only have to do one thing. You just have to understand mind. More you understand mind, more you let go of mind. More you let go of mind, you are close to liberation of mind. People talk about in English speaking countries specifically, they talk about letting go. But you know what? They actually let go of other things. They will let go a million, but they still keep the self, because they don't know that it's the same thing. They don't know that how actually this works. A keen mind about liberation will hear this Dhamma, and the one who hear this Dhamma will get more keen to understand this Dhamma. The more you get keen to understand this Dhamma, more you listen to it, and more you try to understand it. That's all you can do. You can't really push the mind anywhere, because who is pushing the mind? It's the self. If you are doing anything, it's in the mind. You push, you try to do something, it's actually in the mind. But more you understand about the mind, you let go of mind. And then mind is just another sense. So all the senses become obvious to you. They become really clear to you. They become like toys to you. They are just working. They are like acting. They're acting. Can you do anything about it? No, you don't want to. You're not trying to control anything here. You just understand the six senses. That's all you can do. I reiterate that, because if we feel that we are going after something, then that's the mind. Letting go is not about letting go things or people. It's about letting go of your own mind. That's not easy, because we have practiced so long to take this mind seriously. My mind is very important. My mind said this. I felt this. We have told this so many times. And whatever felt by the mind was so real to us. But then we know now. It's just collaboration of five senses. It's just how it works. You don't have any control over that. It just works. So let it work. Who cares? Just let it work. But in that, you stop putting any value to that. And when you stop putting value to that, what happens is mind, understand the mind, and mind let go of mind. How is that? That's really interesting. And that's how I can put it to words. But to do this, even to feel even few fraction of seconds, that liberation of mind, if you want to feel it, you have to practice letting go. Because if you don't do that, if you're always thinking or always putting the fuel to the mind becomes very important. It becomes powerful. Doesn't let you understand that there is something beneath mind. Doesn't let you, because that's how powerful the mind is. That's how powerful this mirage is. So my only advice would be listen to Dhamma, and then you try to practice the path that Aranwanse has taught. You see how these five senses work. More you understand how the five senses work, the mind is part and parcel of that. You can't actually separate them, but you can, but you can't. So it becomes a puzzle. But to let go of the mind, you how can I say, just perceive whatever given to you, but just stop thinking too much, maybe I would say. And one day, if you understand that there's actually, you feel that how the mind works, and you feel that how liberation of how you feel the liberation of mind, then you know mind is not actually that important. The feelings can overpower the mind. This comes, this doesn't come easily when the mind is really powerful. That's the thing I'm trying to say. When mind is really powerful, your feelings will be suppressed, because that's how we have practiced it so far. We have given priority to the mind. We practice mind. We know how to be governed by mind. We are fooled by mind. We have become servants of the mind. But when you start to feel, you are not a slave of the mind anymore. I think I will stop there. Thank you so much.